Have you ever spent time working on a project only to end up losing everything? Well, that has actually happened to me. So there was this time I was learning web development and I built a really cool project using HTML and CSS, wrote all of the code, styled it with CSS. It was looking really good, but I mistakenly deleted the folder where I had this project file stores, and that was the end of the project. I lost everything. It was so painful and I almost cried. So do not imitate me. You should always use a version control system on your project. And with that, I'm happy to let you know that you now have the option to use Git while building your applications on AppSmith. Yeah, that's really cool. We're going to take a look at it in this video. And this is going to unlock a lot of powerful workflows, because aside from being able to back up and restore your code, you could also use things like versioning, where you have various versions of your application. So you can have a V1 of your application that has a particular set of features and a V2 which have a more improved set of features. Then you can slowly work your way to moving your user base from V1 to V2. All of that is possible if you have a version control system like Git. Another really cool feature is being able to collaboratively work on an application. So you could have couple of people or multiple people or an entire team work on an application and not have them mess things up, because each person can go ahead to create a feature branch, work on the feature branch, make changes, test it, and when that's ready to go live, merge those changes back to the default branch. So I'll be showing you how to use all of these features in today's video, because today's video is going to be about using Git and the new Git Sync feature available on AppSmith. And I should say at this point that this is going to be very familiar if you're already used to using Git. It's your regular Git workflow of making changes, committing them, pushing them to a remote repository. So that's exactly what we're going to take a look at in this video. If you're new to Git, I'll highly encourage you to go check out videos or tutorials on using Git. In fact, I'm going to leave a link below on a guide to getting started with Git. But if you're already familiar with Git, you're going to find this really easy to grab a hold of. So today's video is going to be broken down into multiple parts. First, we'll start by taking a look at how to connect to a remote Git repository. This could be GitHub, Bitbucket, Gitlab, or your favorite Git provider. We're going to look at how to connect to a remote Git repository. Next, I'm going to show you how to make changes and commit those changes, push them to a remote repository so that you have all of the changes you've made in your app backed up to a remote repository. Then we'll also take a look at how to create branches, make changes to the branch, and merge those changes back to the default branch. So we're going to look at the branching workflow. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to resolve merge conflicts, because these are things that comes up when you have a multi-branch system. So without further delay, I think we can get started. My name is Confidence, by the way, and I'm a developer advocate at AppSmith. Without any delay, let's get started. Alright, so to get started, what I'm going to do here is create a new application. So I have my AppSmith dashboard open. I'm just going to go ahead to create a new app here. And let's rename the app to the user admin app. Alright, so this is the user admin app. We actually have two options to build apps. We can go ahead to build from scratch using the drag and drop experience. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be generating this application from the database. So we have this feature to generate a simple CRUD app from the database, and it's really fast, really efficient. So we're going to make use of this feature in this video. I already have the application or organization connected to a Postgres database. So I have the users Postgres database, and this has a users table in the public schema. The last thing I need to do here is select a column to enable search for. And for this column, this is going to be the name column, and that's all I have to do. So I'm going to click on the generate page button, and this is going to generate a CRUD app from the database. So we can head back to take a look at this, and let's just go to the preview mode. So I'm going to click on the preview mode button, and here you can see the app we have. It's a simple app that has a list of users coming from the database shown on the table right here, and I can go select a user and update that user's information. So that's the layout of the application we have. And for us to get started with the Git Sync feature, the first thing we have to do is connect to a remote Git repository. So to show you how to do this, let's go ahead to connect to a repository. You have to click on the Connect to Git button right here. So I'm just going to click on that. And here it tells us to create an empty Git repository and copy paste the remote URL here. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So I have my Git repository open here, and I am going to create a new repo. This is my Git profile, by the way. You could go follow me if you are feeling fancy. So let's go create a Git repo. So I'm going to create a new repo. Let's call this repo the user admin app. All right. So I'm going to leave everything as is and go ahead to create the repository. And right here, I'm presented with the SSH URL. So I'm just going to copy this over and head back to the AppSmith app and paste this in right here. Now I can go ahead to click on the generate key button, and this is going to generate an SSH key. So let's go ahead to copy this over. We would need to use this key in our GitHub repo to connect the app to the repository. But before we leave to do that, I'm just going to talk a bit about the user setting. This is where you configure the user profile that creates commits whenever you sync changes from your app to the GitHub repo. So you could edit this if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave this as default so that whatever commit is made, it is going to be made under this name, which is my username and my email right here. So I think this is fine. I'm going to leave this as default. So the next thing we need to do is, after having the SSH keys copied, I'm going to head to the settings panel for my user admin app repository. And let's scroll down to here where it says deploy keys. I'm going to add a deploy key, and let's give this a title of AppSmith, paste in the key information. And it's very important to click on the allow write access button, because by default, deploy keys only have pull access and you can't push changes to the repository using the deploy key. So make sure you have the allow write access enabled. So I'm going to click on the add key button, and that's all we need to do. So heading back here, I can click on the connect button, and this is going to be connected to the remote repository, and we have everything set up. So heading back to the repo and going to the code tab, you can actually see here that you have a README generated that has links to view the application and also to edit the application. You can click on any of these buttons to directly jump into editing or viewing the application from the repo. But right now we actually have an empty repo apart from the README because we don't have our code committed and pushed to Git. So let's actually go on to do that. Now we're done connecting, so let's make the initial commits to sync to Git. So I'm just going to call this chore initial commit, and I think this looks good. So I'm going to push all of the code we have right now on the app to the remote repository, and we can head back to take a look. And you see now that we have the data source folder, we have the pages folder, we have the queries folder, and a couple of other files here, letting us know that we've been able to sync changes from our app to the remote repository, and this works as you would expect. So this is how easy it is for you to connect to a remote repository and push changes to the remote repository. Now I'll actually show you how to make changes to the app and sync those changes to the remote repository. And to show you how to do this, I'm just going to move the reset button to the left. So let's move the reset button to the left, and we have made the change. As you can see, we've made a change. The change has been saved. Now we need to commit those change and push the change to the GitHub repository. So to do that, there is a commit button here, which is the plus icon right here. So I'm just going to click on it. And taking a look at what we have here, you can see that I have made one change to the page. So let's go ahead to commit this change to the repo. So I'm going to say refactor moves button to left or right. So I can commit this, and that's going to have it committed and pushed to the remote repository. So heading back here and reloading the GitHub repo, you can see here that we have a commit message with the change coming from our application. So all of the change we have right now is synced and everything is backed up we would not be afraid to lose any changes because we have everything synced to the GitHub repo. So the next thing I'm going to show you now is how to create multiple branches and have changes worked on those branches and then sync those changes back to the default branch. So in order to do this, we are just going to create a release branch. So let's go create a release branch from the master branch. So this is going to be release. All right. So I'm going to create a release branch from the master branch. All right. And this looks really good because now we are on a different branch. So we can go ahead to make changes on the release branch and have those separated from the master branch, which is probably the prod environment. So for the changes I'm going to make here, so I'm going to go ahead to reduce the length of this table because it's too long, and it will be good to view the entire application without having to scroll down. So I'm just going to reduce this a bit. All right, so let's reduce the container a bit, and that looks good. Maybe a second change I can make here is display the user's profile image, because right here I have the ability to view the user's image. So you can see that we have the image field coming from the database, and let's actually build an image widget to display that info. So here in the form, what I'm going to do is create some space for the image widget. So let's move all of the other widgets down and create some space for the image widget. So I'm just going to resize this. All right, set this to heading 2, and now we can go bring in an image widget to display the user's image. So this is the image widget here, and for the image field, this is going to be coming from table 1.selectedRow.image. And as you can see, we have the selected user's image displayed here. So we can go select a new user from the table and have all of that information updated here. So right now we've made changes to the release branch, and I can go ahead to commit these changes. So let's say fit, adds, image. All right, this looks good. So I can commit this change and have it pushed to the remote repository. So heading back here, you can see here now we have a new branch called the release branch with all of the changes we have just made right now. So we have all of that synced up to the remote repository. One good feature that you are able to unlock with having a multi-branch system is that you have deployed previews of your application for all of these branches you've created. So right now I'm on the release branch, and I can go ahead to view the last deployed version of this app. And as you expect, this is going to be the same look and feel of the application we have showing on the release branch. But heading back to the master branch, so let's head back to the master branch, and let's also take a look at what we have here on the master branch. So I can click on the last deployed version. You can see that the master branch still looks the same way as it was when we generated the application. So you had the long table with no image, whereas on the release branch, we actually have all of these changes. So we actually have two versions of the same application from the same base. So this is really useful if you want various versions of your application. This is one way you can easily do that by using the deploy previews on each of these branches as separate apps. So you could also totally have various versions of your application from the various branches you have set up. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you here when it comes to branching is merging changes from a different branch to the default branch. So let's head back to the base branch. So I want to merge changes we've made from the release branch to the master branch. I'm going to head to the release branch, and right here we have the merge button. So I'm just going to click on this, and here we have the base as the release branch, and for the target, this is going to be the master branch. All right, so let's go ahead to merge these changes, and that looks good. We've been able to merge the changes from the release branch to the master branch, and now we can head over to the master branch, and as you would expect, we have the new changes from the release branch showing up on the master branch. So this is how easy it is for you to create branches, make changes, and sync those changes back to the base or default branch. The last thing I'm going to show you here is how to resolve merge conflicts, because when you have a multi-branch system, you definitely end up in a situation where you have merge conflicts. So the last part of this video would be about resolving merge conflicts. So in order to show you how to resolve merge conflicts, we actually need to introduce a conflict. So to do that, let's go into create a new branch. I'm going to call this the test branch. So this is going to be the test branch, and we're creating a test branch from the master branch. So I'm going to click on create branch. All right, and now we have a test branch we can work on. So the change I'm going to make on the test branch is that I'm going to delete all of the location inputs we have on the app. So for the longitude and latitude, I'm just going to delete all of this. All right, and now I can go ahead to commit these changes and push them to the remote repo. All right, so let's go ahead to commit these changes. I'm going to click on the plus button. So let's commit the change. I'm going to say feature removes location input. All right, that looks good. So I can commit these changes and have them pushed to the remote repo. And heading back here to GitHub, you can see that we have a test branch which has all the changes we just pushed. That looks good. So heading back to the master branch, we're just going to head back to the master branch. What we're going to do here is that I'm going to make changes to the widget we just deleted from the test branch. And then we're going to try merging the changes on the test branch back to the master branch. That's definitely going to create a merge conflict, and that's exactly what we want to do here. So for the inputs here, the location inputs, I am going to update the data type to number. Remember, these are the inputs we deleted from the test branch. So this is the second location input. I'm going to set this to type number, and that looks good. So I can commit the changes made on the master branch. So I can say chore mix location input type number. All right, this looks good. So I can commit these changes and push them to the remote repo, and here we have everything looking good on GitHub. We have all of the branches looking good here on GitHub. So what I'm going to do here is head back to the test branch and try to merge the changes from the test branch back into the master branch. This is going to create a merge conflict, so let's watch this happen. So I'm going to click on the merge button, and we have the base as the test branch, and the target is going to be the master branch. So I am going to try to merge this, and here we have an error saying you can't merge this, there's a merge conflict, you have to go fix it. So to fix this merge conflict, we actually need to go do this on GitHub. So we need to click on the open repo button here and use the PR flow to fix this merge conflict. We're actually working on a way to have these merge conflicts fixed natively here within AppSmith. It's going to be a visual fix where you could visually select what widgets you want to add or remove from either of the conflicting branch and have them resolve visually right here within AppSmith. But that's still a work in progress, and it's going to be rolled out in future versions of the Git Sync feature. But for now, let's head back to GitHub and fix this using the regular pull request flow. So let's go on to fix this. What I'm going to do here is click on the pull request button, and right here, Git is also telling me that I can't merge it automatically because we have a conflict, but I'm going to ignore this and anyway go ahead to create a pull request. That's because we want to use the built-in GitHub feature to resolve merge conflicts. So right here, you have the resolve conflict button. So I'm going to click on this, and taking a look at the code right here, I can see where the conflicting branches have their changes shown up here highlighted on GitHub. So taking a look at what we have here, you can see that from the test branch, I actually have this widget deleted, but from the master branch, which is the code we have right here to where it says master, I still have those widgets existing, but I have updated the widget type to number, as you can see in the widgets here and also right here. So to fix this conflict, what I'm going to do is accept the change from the master branch while also keeping the changes of the deleted text input from the test branch. So to do that, I'm just going to delete all of this marker and scroll down to the last marker we have here and delete this as well. So that's all I need to do here, and I can click on marked as resolved, commit the resolved conflicts. And now we can actually go ahead to merge the pull request to the master branch. So I'm going to merge this. All right, and we have successfully merged those changes. So heading back to the master branch on the application, you can see now that I have notifications for pull requests. So I can pull these changes and have those changes synced with the master branch. So let's do that. So I can pull those changes by clicking on the pull button. And you can see right here that we have those changes pulled to the application and they have been resolved. Because taking a look at what we have here, we have the labels, the text labels for the location inputs deleted. That was deleted from the test branch. And from the master branch, we have those inputs still existing, but they have a type of number, as you can see from the application. So we've been able to resolve the conflict and have everything in a good state while bringing that code back to the master branch. So this is how you can resolve conflicts whenever they come up when working on a multi-branch system. So I hope you found this video helpful, because we are going to be putting a video to the end here. If you have any questions, please do ask in the comment section. I'd like you to take a look at the documentation to learn more about the Git Sync feature. So I'm going to be leaving a link here to the documentation so that you can go check out more information on the Git Sync feature. And if you'd like to learn more about managing applications, such as moving applications from one instance to the other, I'll also leave a link to a blog article we wrote here on using a feature that makes it easy for you to migrate apps across instances. So that'll be all for today's video. I hope you found this helpful. If you have questions, please do ask in the comment section or join us on the Discord channel to share your thoughts on the Git Sync feature. Probably there's something you want us to add. Please do let us know by telling us what you think. That'll be all for this video. Do get subscribed, and I'm going to see you in the next video. All right, take care and bye-bye.